Please give me your complete attention because what I am about to reveal is not simply ordinary information. It is something that could be extremely important for your safety and protection. There are individuals in this world who go far beyond merely disliking you. They genuinely hope to witness your downfall. Some people do not even want to see you succeed or flourish in any area of life. If you are not paying careful attention, if you fail to notice the warning signals, you may unknowingly walk straight into traps they have thoughtfully arranged, moving forward with confidence while they quietly position themselves behind the scenes, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. This is not about becoming fearful or suspicious of every person you encounter. It is about understanding fundamental human psychology. Narcissists, especially those with deeply embedded emotional issues, often operate with a degree of hostility, calculation, and manipulation that truly compassionate people find difficult to imagine. The uncomfortable truth is that your goodness can become the very thing that places you at risk. Today, we will explore 6 hidden indicators, 6 subtle signals that often appear in the smallest behaviors, revealing when a narcissist does not merely dislike you, but may genuinely want to see your life fall apart. Learning to identify these signs can help you safeguard yourself and preserve your emotional, social, and sometimes even physical well-being, because the danger can be much greater than most people realize. One of the most unsettling aspects of narcissistic behavior is the way they transform your best qualities into weapons against you. This process is often so gradual and subtle that many people fail to recognize it until significant damage has already occurred. Think about the qualities that make you admirable as a human being. Your kindness, loyalty, compassion, empathy, willingness to forgive, and determination to believe in the good within others. These are not flaws, these are strengths. Yet these same strengths are often the exact qualities a narcissist identifies, targets, and manipulates for personal advantage. They do not exploit these qualities accidentally. They do it intentionally. There is often a strategic instinct behind their behavior that resembles a predator carefully observing its prey. They recognize your good nature almost immediately. Just as a shark can detect blood in the water from a great distance, they quickly sense qualities they can use to their benefit. When you are kind, they take advantage of that kindness, not with gratitude, but with entitlement. Before long, you may discover yourself agreeing to things you never wanted to do because your kindness has been transformed into a chain restricting your own freedom. When you are loyal, they continuously test the boundaries of that loyalty. They may betray your trust over and over again, not because they value the relationship, but because they want to measure how much you will endure before finally walking away. Since loyalty is important to you, leaving becomes difficult. You create explanations for their behavior. Perhaps they will change. Perhaps they did not mean to hurt me. Perhaps I am reading the situation incorrectly. They understand this pattern very well and frequently depend on it. If you are naturally forgiving, a narcissist does not view forgiveness as a gift. They see it as a resource that can be used repeatedly. They hurt you, apologize, gain another chance, and then repeat the exact same behavior. Your willingness to forgive becomes a revolving door through which their mistreatment continues to enter your life. Sometimes they even present forgiveness as your obligation. They may suggest that if you were truly understanding and compassionate, you would simply let things go. Because you sincerely believe in second chances, and perhaps even third, fourth, or fifth chances, you find yourself struggling internally. What often remains unnoticed is that your forgiveness has stopped functioning as grace and has started functioning as permission. Your empathy can become another pathway for manipulation. The very quality that allows you to connect deeply with people becomes fertile ground for exploitation. A narcissist may portray themselves as a victim, drawing out your compassion and activating your natural desire to help. They may cry when it serves their interests. They may become angry when it benefits them. They may appear emotionally shattered whenever it helps them achieve their objectives. Each response is carefully designed to pull you into the role of rescuer and caretaker. Yet when your own needs become important, everything changes. Suddenly, they are unavailable. The empathy they demanded from you is nowhere to be found when you need support, understanding, or comfort. This imbalance is not accidental. It is often one of the central pillars of the entire relationship dynamic. They expect patience, understanding, and compassion while offering very little of those things in return. Even your tendency to see the best in others can become a vulnerability in their hands. You excuse behaviors that should concern you because you remain committed to believing in their potential goodness. You explain cruelty as stress. You explain dishonesty as confusion. You explain controlling behavior as concern. You explain manipulation as insecurity. This is exactly where narcissists thrive. They know you will bend reality to protect your ideals. They know you may sacrifice your own peace of mind to preserve the image of who you believed they were. They understand that you will rewrite the story repeatedly to keep hope alive. Every time you do this, their influence becomes stronger. This is one of the most effective psychological tactics they use. Rather than attacking your obvious weaknesses, they gradually erode your greatest strengths. They make you question whether kindness is naive, whether loyalty is foolish, whether forgiveness is weakness, and whether empathy is simply self-abandonment. Over time, you begin to distrust the very qualities that once defined your character. You start seeing your strengths as liabilities. When that happens, something even more valuable is lost. You begin losing trust in yourself. This is how they weaken people, not through direct force, but by encouraging them to surrender their own protective instincts and inner confidence. Many victims recognize this pattern only years later. Looking back, they often ask themselves how they allowed the situation to continue for so long. The answer is usually painful, yet remarkably simple. They stayed because they were good people. Their goodness was not a coincidence. It became a weapon used against them by someone who fully understood how valuable that goodness truly was. Another revealing trait is that narcissists often derive more pleasure from your failures than from their own accomplishments. This offers a direct window into their psychology because it reveals not only insecurity, but also a deep resentment toward anyone who threatens their self-image. Most people experience jealousy from time to time. A friend buys a new car, receives a promotion, or reaches an important milestone, and a brief feeling of envy may appear. Healthy individuals usually acknowledge that feeling and move forward. A narcissist experiences something very different. Your success challenges the fragile story they have constructed about themselves. It threatens the illusion that they are superior, exceptional, and always deserving of admiration and recognition. Whenever you succeed, it does not simply bother them. It destabilizes them. Your achievements expose weaknesses in the image they work desperately to maintain. As a result, instead of concentrating on their own growth, they often become obsessed with your setbacks. Your struggles provide emotional relief because your fall temporarily restores their sense of superiority. Pay very close attention to how they behave during difficult moments in your life. When you make a mistake, their expression may subtly brighten. Their curiosity suddenly increases. Their voice becomes more energetic and engaged. If you experience a serious setback, they rarely offer genuine support. Even when they appear to comfort you, there may be a hidden sense of satisfaction beneath the surface. Sometimes it appears in the form of excessive curiosity. They want every detail. They ask question after question, not necessarily because they care, but because your pain has become a source of psychological nourishment for them. They study your disappointment with unusual interest. At other times, it appears through subtle comments disguised as advice. They may say things like, I knew that might happen, or maybe this is a lesson you needed to learn. These statements may sound harmless, but they often carry an undertone of satisfaction rather than concern. What truly reveals their mindset is the contrast between how they respond to your failures and how they react to your successes. When you achieve something meaningful, their enthusiasm often disappears. They may change the subject, minimize your accomplishment, or quickly redirect attention back to themselves. But when you struggle, they suddenly become highly engaged. That contrast tells you everything. Healthy people celebrate your victories and support you during your hardships. Narcissists often do the opposite. Your victories threaten them while your failures comfort them. This is why recognizing these patterns is so important. Their reactions reveal far more than their words ever could. Words can be carefully chosen, expressions can be controlled, stories can be rehearsed, but genuine emotional reactions often expose what is happening beneath the surface. When someone repeatedly seems energized by your pain and uncomfortable with your success, you are witnessing something much deeper than ordinary jealousy. You are witnessing a person whose self-worth depends on seeing others diminished. And that is a dangerous mindset to ignore. This is why their praise often feels empty, and their sympathy can seem oddly artificial. Deep within, they are waiting for your life to stumble. Your difficulties reassure them. Your setbacks help them regain a sense of power. This explains why many narcissists become subtle saboteurs. They do not merely wait for failure to appear. They quietly help create the circumstances that make failure more likely. Before an important choice, they may fill your thoughts with uncertainty. Before a major opportunity, they may subtly undermine your confidence. They introduce confusion, distraction, or instability into situations where you need focus and clarity. Then, when things go wrong, they experience two rewards at the same time. They witness your setback while also knowing they played a role in it. They do not necessarily care about succeeding fairly. What matters most is preserving their position within the hierarchy they have constructed in their minds. Success feels more satisfying when it comes at another person's expense. Even the smallest interactions reveal this pattern. Share exciting news, and they quickly downplay it or redirect attention back to themselves. Share disappointing news, and suddenly they become engaged, attentive, and interested. They ask questions. They encourage details. They linger on the topic. It can feel as though your suffering energizes them. Meanwhile, your accomplishments receive only brief recognition. Compliments are often mixed with criticism or subtle skepticism. You leave the conversation wondering why your achievements suddenly seem less important than they felt before. This is part of the psychological erosion taking place. Perhaps the most revealing sign is their obsession with comparison. Narcissists are constantly measuring themselves against other people. They maintain an invisible scoreboard that never stops running. They feel compelled to stay ahead, but not necessarily through genuine growth or hard work. Instead, they often seek superiority by weakening those around them. If they cannot rise higher, they try to pull others lower. If they cannot outshine you directly, they find comfort in watching your light fade. This is one reason gossip, rumors, and character attacks become such common tools. They enjoy damaging reputations because every reduction in another person's standing feels like an increase in their own. This behavior is not random cruelty. It serves a psychological purpose. The narcissist's self-worth is often dependent on comparison rather than authentic self-respect. Their confidence cannot stand on its own. It requires someone else to lose in order for them to feel as though they have won. That is why understanding these patterns is so important. Once you recognize them, you stop taking the behavior personally. You realize that their actions reveal far more about their internal struggles than they do about your value. Awareness becomes your protection. The moment you stop providing endless opportunities for manipulation, the dynamic begins to shift. The healthiest response is not revenge, it is clarity. It is recognizing when your strengths are being exploited and refusing to allow them to be used against you. Your kindness can remain kindness while still having boundaries. Your empathy can remain empathy while still protecting your well-being. Your loyalty can remain loyalty while still expecting respect. The goal is not to become colder. The goal is to become wiser. When you understand how manipulation works, you no longer confuse exploitation with love, control with care, or emotional games with genuine connection. You begin seeing people as they truly are rather than as you wish them to be. And that awareness is often the very thing a narcissist fears most, because once you clearly recognize the pattern, their ability to control it begins to disappear. It is their fundamental survival strategy in a world where every achievement they witness feels like a personal threat. The damaging part is that they cannot openly reveal their dissatisfaction without exposing who they truly are. So they develop hidden ways of expressing it. A smirk they quickly attempt to hide. A casual remark that lands like a blade. A strange silence during a moment when any ordinary person would naturally offer support or encouragement. Over time, you begin noticing these subtle reactions, and they start to disturb you. You slowly begin wondering whether the person standing beside you is secretly hoping for your failure. That uncertainty gradually erodes relationships from within, creating a state of isolation and mistrust. This is exactly the environment the narcissist wants you trapped in, uncertain, questioning yourself, and disconnected from genuine sources of support. Their enjoyment of your failures is not simply cruel behavior. It serves as emotional fuel. It reassures them of their superiority, restores their fragile sense of control, and feeds the contempt they secretly carry toward you. It also exposes their inner emptiness. Someone who possesses real confidence, authentic capability, and genuine self-respect does not require another person's failure in order to feel valuable. A narcissist often does, and that hunger never truly ends. Your setbacks are never enough. They continue searching for the next disappointment, the next mistake, the next piece of evidence that convinces them you are not above them. No matter how much they witness, the craving remains. It constantly demands more. Another powerful tactic they use is turning silence into a form of psychological warfare. Most people think communication happens through words, conversations, and direct discussions. For a narcissist, however, silence can be every bit as powerful as speech. They use it to unsettle you, gain leverage, and shift the balance of power without saying a single word. This is not the silence of peace or thoughtful reflection. It is intentional silence, strategic silence. They wield it with the same precision that an expert marksman handles a weapon. Every pause is deliberate. Every withdrawal serves a purpose. The intention is not neutrality. The intention is discomfort. When a narcissist becomes silent, it is rarely accidental. They stop communicating not because they have nothing to say, but because they know exactly what their silence will trigger inside you. They understand your mind will begin racing. They know anxiety will increase. They know you will replay conversations repeatedly, searching for some mistake you may have made. Their silence pushes you into self-doubt. It creates the feeling of being judged without knowing the accusation against you. You begin asking yourself endless questions. Did I offend them? Did I say something wrong? Why are they ignoring me? What happened? The narcissist counts on this mental spiral because every moment spent doubting yourself strengthens their position within the relationship. The silent treatment is perhaps the most recognizable example of this behavior. They withdraw emotionally and sometimes physically, leaving behind a painful void filled with uncertainty. Hours can pass, days can pass, sometimes even weeks pass without explanation. During this period, they are not wondering how you feel. They already know. In many cases, that knowledge is exactly what motivates the behavior. Your discomfort, your nervous anticipation, and your desperate desire for resolution all contribute to their sense of control. By refusing communication, they force you into pursuit. They make you chase their attention. They encourage you to settle for tiny scraps of validation. They push you into sacrificing your self-respect simply to restore a connection they intentionally interrupted. What began as their withdrawal eventually becomes your pursuit, and within that reversal, they find their victory. The tactic extends beyond complete silence. It can also appear during conversations themselves. You may be sharing something deeply personal, opening your heart honestly, when suddenly they shut down completely, not with anger, not with shouting, simply with an expressionless wall of indifference. Your words linger in the air without a reply, no acknowledgement, no reaction, no sign that they even listened to what you said. This can feel deeply painful because human beings are naturally designed to seek recognition, validation, and feedback from others. When that acknowledgement is intentionally withheld, it creates a profound emotional wound. By refusing to offer even the smallest response, they send a harmful message. Your feelings are unimportant. Your thoughts are unimportant. Your experiences are unimportant. They communicate all of this without uttering a single word. Silence can also be employed with astonishing precision. After a disagreement, when most people would try to resolve the conflict or at least talk about it, the narcissist suddenly withdraws into silence. Not because they genuinely need time to reflect, but because they understand your desire for resolution. Their silence extends your discomfort. It prolongs the tension until it becomes almost unbearable. Eventually, you may catch yourself apologizing simply to make the emotional pressure disappear. In this way, they succeed in conflicts without ever having to justify their position. Their silence becomes their strongest argument. Even in social situations, silence can function as a powerful weapon. A narcissist may intentionally ignore you in front of others while remaining friendly, charming, and attentive toward everyone else. This form of exclusion often cuts deeper than direct criticism. It silently communicates to everyone present that you are somehow undeserving of attention. It makes you feel unseen. It makes you feel invisible. The result is isolation, not only emotionally, but socially as well. They never have to openly insult, criticize, or humiliate you because the silence accomplishes the work on their behalf. What makes this tactic especially damaging is that it exploits one of the most basic elements of human psychology. We are conditioned to interpret silence as a signal. Within close relationships, prolonged silence usually suggests that something is wrong. Naturally, we want to repair the connection. The narcissist takes advantage of this instinct. They turn your desire for closeness into a tool of manipulation and control. You begin trying harder. You give more than before. You compromise further. You suppress your own needs, all in an effort to bring the painful silence to an end. Every time this pattern repeats, their influence becomes stronger. They learn that silence reliably produces the outcome they desire. Over time, this develops into a powerful form of psychological conditioning. You start expecting it. You begin dreading it. You adjust your behavior to avoid triggering it. You censor your opinions, minimize your needs, and reshape your actions. Not out of mutual respect, but out of fear of being pushed back into that emotional void. This conditioning often remains invisible to outsiders, yet internally it changes your entire sense of identity. You become quieter, smaller, more uncertain, more cautious, Meanwhile, the narcissist becomes increasingly powerful through their refusal to engage. Another harmful strategy involves isolating you by gradually poisoning your relationships with other people. This tactic targets one of the strongest foundations of human resilience: connection. People survive difficulties, recover from setbacks, and build strength through relationships with family members, friends, and supportive communities. A narcissist understands this on an instinctive level. They know that as long as you maintain strong support networks, you remain difficult to manipulate. You remain difficult to control. For that reason, they often begin weakening those connections one by one. Rarely do they do this openly. Instead, they operate subtly. They may criticize your friends. They may question the intentions of your family members. They may plant small seeds of doubt about people who genuinely care about you. At first, their comments can appear harmless. They may sound concerned. They may sound protective. They may even claim that they only want what is best for you. But beneath the surface, something very different is taking place. Little by little, they encourage distance between you and the people who support you. They may tell you that your friends do not truly understand you. They may suggest that your family is against you. They may claim that others are jealous of your success, your happiness, or your relationship. Over time, these repeated suggestions begin influencing the way you see those around you. You start questioning people you once trusted. You become suspicious of relationships that once felt secure. Gradually, your support system weakens. As your connections become strained, the narcissist positions themselves as the person you can depend on. They create a situation where they become both the source of your distress and the person you turn to for comfort. This creates a powerful dependency. The fewer people you trust, the more influence they gain. The more isolated you become, the easier it is for them to shape your reality. Without outside perspectives, it becomes increasingly difficult to recognize manipulation. There is no one nearby to challenge their version of events. No one to remind you of who you were before the relationship changed you. No one to offer an alternative viewpoint. This isolation creates the perfect environment for control. Human beings rely on relationships not only for emotional support, but also for perspective. The people around us help us evaluate situations accurately. They help us recognize unhealthy patterns. They remind us when something feels wrong. When those voices disappear, the narcissist's voice becomes louder. Eventually, it may become the only voice you hear. That is precisely what makes isolation such a powerful weapon. It is not merely about separating you from other people. It is about removing the influences that could help you see the truth. Once those influences are gone, the narcissist gains greater power to define reality on their own terms. And when a person controls your reality, they gain an extraordinary level of control over your emotions, your decisions, and ultimately your life.